Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar is going to begin shortly, but as we get started this morning, I'd first like to introduce Annabelle from the Interpreters Co-op in Madison, and she's going to be sharing some important information about accessing simultaneous interpretation for this presentation. So Annabelle, please take it away. Okay, so I'm not hearing Annabelle hop on, so I'm going to walk folks through simultaneous interpretation. So just to give folks a heads up, we are having 3 language channels for today's presentation. We will have English, Spanish, and French. And so you can see the instructions there for connecting to each of those respective language channels. You're just going to want to look for the button at the bottom of your Zoom panel, and it's going to have a little kind of globe icon. It'll say interpretation. Click on that, and it's going to pop up and give you your preferred language channel. But again, thank you to the Interpreters Co-op in Madison for providing interpretation for today's webinar. Okay, so moving on. Again, welcome everyone. We are so appreciative of you joining us here today. We do have an hour and a half together, and we've reserved 15 or so minutes for audience Q&A. So please, as questions come to you, add them to the Q&A box in the Zoom pop-up. Our team is going to be monitoring that conversation, and we'll do our best to get to as many of those questions as possible. This webinar is being recorded, so you will have an opportunity to share it with your networks. And you can look for that recording in your inbox later this week. It'll be available in all 3 language channels. So be prepared to share that with your networks afterward, or if you just like to review and take a second look at the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so to kick today's webinar off, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Catherine Ford. Catherine is a global cooperative development leader and consultant, and she worked on the final evaluation for the project we're going to be talking about today. So she's here to share some of the insights from that final evaluation and guide our conversation here with the country directors for this project. So welcome, Catherine. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'll say that it's bringing a big smile to my face to have the chat up and see all of the wonderful greetings that everyone who's joining on is posting. Thank you for that. Welcome, everyone. It is a real privilege to be here with you and having the opportunity to kick this off and learn together with you and our leaders on the accomplishments and the learnings and all of the engagement that this incredible project delivered over the course of 5 years. As we begin, I wanted us to start with a moment of reflection that will open, and then we'll come to a similar moment at the end, because as Liz mentioned, we do have an hour and a half, but that time is going to move quickly with as much information and engagement. So I'd really ask everyone to just focus your gaze, if you're able to see the screen, at the very top header where it says NCBA CLUSA on the left top part. And as you move your eyes over to the right on that same blue banner, you'll see diversity, equity, inclusion. And think through how our world and our environment and our own personal lives are focusing on this. And then the far right symbol, the 2 pines. This is something that represents cooperatives. It also, however, has significance where it's regarded as a symbol of the life force and in everyday life as an omen of good fortune. And that's how I wanted to invite everyone to come together to engage and listen and learn and ask questions. Use the Q&A. We will have focused time for that later on. But let's begin now. The purpose of this is to share main results, learnings, and tools that have been developed under the CDP, the Cooperative Development Program that NCBA CLUSA led, called CECE, Creating an Enabling Environment for Cooperative Expansion. The purpose is to share these results and learnings and tools because it's relevant for co-op development organizations and for cooperatives themselves, obviously, within the US and around the world. They've been developed in Latin America and in African countries, and they will be relevant to all cooperative businesses, regardless of where you are. In fact, tools like Clarity and the Cooperative Business School that we'll hear more about are being leveraged in US cooperatives through other programs. What we'll begin with hearing from the global director from NCBA CLUSA, Camila Pinheiro, about the project and tools developed. From there, we're going to move on to watch and learn a terrific video about Madagascar and lessons learned. And then we'll begin our panel discussion, really diving into each country's leaders' learnings and recommendations from their vast experience. Then we'll have Q&A, and then we'll move on to our final component, which is having Camila Pinheiro, the global director, share back global learnings and papers available. So welcome, everyone. Remember to utilize the different translation functions that were offered in the beginning. Interpretation, I'm sorry. And also, as questions arise, please put them in the Q&A if they are for panelists. Otherwise, use the chat to certainly provide greetings and whatnot. Thank you so much. Let's get going.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to very quickly introduce a cooperative development project that we implemented as next, please. As Catherine was explaining, the CECE is creating an enabling environment for cooperative expansion, and we just ended August 2023. We'll have good news at the end of the webinar. We are already starting the next cycle, and this is a USAID cooperative development funded by the USAID Cooperative Development Program, and it was implemented in 5 core countries: Guatemala, Kenya, Peru, Madagascar, and Tanzania. We also implemented for around 1 year work in Ecuador around the first objective you see around improving legal and regulatory frameworks. The rest of all 3 objectives were implemented in the 5 core countries. And we work for the second objective, building the capacity of 16 local cooperative support organizations. And we offer the third objective, we focus on 64 cooperatives that we target that had around 100,000 members. And next, please. As you can see, the idea of this project was that by working on the enabling environment and strengthening the local support organizations, which can be referred also as the ecosystem, we were also contributing to sustainable results for the cooperatives. And the goal was to strengthen the overall health of these cooperatives. And so we focus on governance and management strengthening by providing coaching to these 64 cooperatives, but also training that reach these cooperatives and other cooperatives. With the local support organizations, we also try to strengthen their capacity. These were cooperative apex, public entities and private businesses with a mandate to provide support services to cooperatives. With them, we help organize events, help develop materials and disseminate them. For the other objective around the enabling environment, we focus on cooperative legislation and working with other entities that had regulatory roles too. And for that, you will be hearing more about Clarity. That was the starting point, and then we did everything related to the facilitating the process to reform cooperative legislation. Next, please. And very quickly, I'm just gonna show the areas where we work, the value chain, and to highlight, we work with 80 of those 64, 86% were farmer cooperative, and the rest were finance, so savings and credit cooperatives. Next, please. And so I just wanted to share some of the main results. As you can see, working in so many places and so many topics, there is a lot to share. Just wanted to really congratulate our teams in Madagascar and Ecuador, because there we were able to have the 2 cooperative law proposals passed into legislation. That was huge work in Madagascar for many years. And I also wanted to let you know that in the rest of the countries, the cooperative law proposals are at different stages, and we hope some are passed soon. And in addition to cooperative laws, we also help pass other legislation related to taxation, access to finance, etc. In this level of work, we are very proud to have produced a new version, or help produce a new version of Clarity. You'll be hearing about it soon and next. And then in terms of the local support ecosystem, some of the results is the fact that some of these 64 cooperatives we work with were able to access near 13 million in loans. And also we help develop these tools that you will be hearing from. In terms of the cooperative, despite all the crises we have been living in the last couple of years, these cooperatives were able to strengthen overall their governance and management, and achieve higher results in terms of net revenue. Although in some countries, some cooperatives are experiencing losses. We know how hard it is for businesses right now, but in overall, they have improved their business performance, and we were able to surpass our goal of 5 million in member equity. We'll be talking about this later. We are very happy, proud about the work that our teams did for increasing the participation of women and youth in this cooperative. As you can see, 162 and 137% respectively. Next, please. And here these are the people behind the scene who do all the work. We want to acknowledge and congratulate you for your commitment and passion. Not everyone appears in the picture. We're going to be hearing about from the country directors in all these 5 countries. We are not going to hear from Francisco, who is right there with a piece of paper. He was in a previous webinar on Clarity. We just want to thank you for all your work and for the entire teams. Thanks. Next, please. And so very quickly, Clarity 2.0 is a new version of Clarity that was Clarity is the Cooperative Law and Regulation Initiative. I want to thank Ed, Willie Tajudi, and all the cooperative law experts or lawyers in the countries where we work. You can see some of them in that screenshot. I just want to say that this new version is based on a research that was done for near a year with 14 global cooperative law experts, including ICA ones, and from all the regions of the world. And this research is the foundation for the changes that we did to Clarity. You can see some of the updates there. Pretty much all the key reform issues, analytical rubrics, all were updated, considering that the Clarity was developed 15 years ago by OCDC, which I should say OCDC members, and CLUSA is a founding member of OCDC. And so there are also additions that we did that you can see there, and we are very eager to share this library of 500 resources, in addition to like the regulation analysis, gap analysis, and some practical tools that can be used by people who are working in cooperative law reform. Next, please. So Cooperative Business School, this is another, more than a tool, it's a strategic initiative of NCBA CLUSA. It started in Peru because that was a country that was hit the hardest with COVID. We could not work in person. Everything had to be virtual. And I just want to say that we are right now revamping the website, and a new version of the website should be available in a couple of days. But this is how it looked like, and you can see the 5 components of like main services that are provided: online courses, events, resources, tests for cooperatives to assess their gaps, and funds that can be accessed by cooperative in some of the countries we work. We want to thank CDF for allowing us to expand to Guatemala, and we're in the process of expanding to the US. Next, please. And we want to thank our team in Peru and the Cooperative Business School team who have done such a great job. You can see that we have reached over 400 people. These are March numbers, so in July it was bigger. And more than 700 cooperatives, near 4,000 organizations. We have been lucky to have many experts on all these topics. It started with a focus on marketing, but now it's pretty much everything that cooperatives might need for their organizational strengthening, some production subjects. And if you are interested in participating as a student, an expert, or a partner, please do contact us, as you can see there. Next, please. I'm going to talk very quickly about another tool that you can go to the link provided and download it. You can install it and have control of your own data. If you need a tool that helps you assess an organization and develop a work plan and monitor that work plan with the organization, this is a tool you can use. As you can see, we are very thankful of AMEA for helping us take this tool to the next stage, having it in 3 languages with 4 different types of users that you can see there, from a super administrator to a assessor and observer, so that the organizations that are assessed can also have access to the data. And it allows to do an assessment. Prior can tailor the assessment, develop their own assessment, and they can use it to follow this process of evaluation, knowing, understanding the results, and creating your work plan. I can talk much more, but we have little time and we want to hear from the country directors. So I'll just leave it there. And next, we have all the manuals and information. Lastly, one other tool we wanted to share is the Women Inclusion, Empowerment, and Leadership in Cooperative, or WILCOOP tool. It's a long name, because we understand, we developed this tool because we understood that there were significant barriers for not just leadership, but inclusion of women and youth, that this focuses on women in membership. So we wanted to start from the beginning. How do we allow cooperatives and support cooperatives to have more members who are women? No? Because we know sometimes women many times are behind doing the work, but they don't get to participate in decision making. And so very briefly, we are very proud of this tool that is a TOT guide with the facilitator guides, PowerPoints, handouts, but these 10 beautiful videos that you will see now. And I just want to highlight the second module is a module that allows organizations to identify which are these barriers that are preventing cooperative from having more women members and leaders, and helps the organizations develop a plan that is based on the commitment to achieve gender equity in the cooperatives. So without further delay, now we're gonna watch one of these 10 videos, and thank you all for participating again.
Vovady zay roa dia efa nandray andraikitra hoe mila mitady, mila miasa, mila manampy an'ity vadiko ity any amin'ny resaka fambolena sy fitadiavana vola samihafa. Nisy coopérative zany nanentana anay hoe sao dia hiditra nareo, dia naika izy no hiditra ao membre, dia nefa rehefa nahatsapa izy fa za no tena misehatra atao anatin'ny fiompiana, dia izy mihitsy no resy lahatra hoe andao ianao no atao membre.
Rehefa misy hetsika ty anivon'ny iny io, dia saika lahilahy daholo no ao anatin'le fitantanana.
Noho ny fahatsapana fa ny fisiana vehivavy tao anatin'ilay coopérative fototra anankiray nahatonga an-drareo hetsika kokoa, dia resy lahatra ny tany amin'ny fivorimbe fa andao ary ho etsehana ny vehivavy amin'ny alalan'ny fananganana an'io komity io mba fiaraha-mientan'ny lahy sy ny vavy no tanjona fa tsy hoe voamieran'ny vehivavy na fiadian-jo ho an'ny vehivavy.
Manana vina ny komity Miralenta hoe vehivavy mandray andraikitra ary maranisa ihany koa anivon'ny komity mpitantanana amin'ny vondrana kooperativa Rova mba hampiroborobo ny resaka famokarana ronono.
Tanjonany ny vehivavy any amin'ny kooperativa fototra 30 isanjato, dia ny vehivavy mamonjy azy 50 isanjato, dia ny voameram-panaramaso 70 isanjato.
Kooperativa fototra anay moa zany 30. Dia tao amin'ny ratin'ireo 30 ireo ny anankefatra amin'ireo efa mihoatra ny 50% ny isan'ny vehivavy ao anatiny. Dia rehefa natao ny fifaninanana dia ireo kooperativa maro vehivavy ireo no efatra tafiditra. Izany hoe mbola nanamarika ihany zany hatreto fa le maro vehivavy mihetsiketsika kokoa mahavaly kritera kokoa zany amin'ny zavatra tadiavina.
Ny zavatra hita zany hoe rehefa miasa ny voameran'ny Miralenta dia misy ny vehivavy samy mijoro, samy maneho ny heviny izy. Ny vokatra tsara azy zao dia ny fisian'ny vehivavy miditra ho mambara. Dia kooperativa 12 misy komity mpitantana zany ao anatin'ny kooperativa fototra miditra ao anatin'ny birao.
Afa-po zahay satria maro ihany koa fiofanana azo mitraikefa voka-dronono aza mitombo noho n'ilay fiofanana ihany koa ny raisana avy any amin'ny Miralenta dia mampitombo ihany koa ny fari-piainanay.
Ny faniriko zany dia mbo hampitombo ny isan'ny omby, mbo betsaka ny voka-dronono, mbo hampitombo ny fiarikarenako satria efa tafitako ny zanako dia mbo hitsinjo ny hoavitry ny ray
Thank you. Hard to follow that, but when we get to the slide that shows the index, so we can get to that slide, please. Yep. Awesome. Well, we're going to move now into looking back at the achievements that CECE as the project achieved across the countries and across various themes. And the work that went into trying to digest how to quantify data and achievements from 5 countries, more than 60 cooperatives, collectively representing more than 110,000 members, is a monumental task. How do you do that? That was a question that was put on the Endline evaluation team, Just Results, and I had the privilege to work with this team. And by using a method that the team collected and coded data from primary sources, collecting that from project country jam sessions, key informant interviews with co-op ecosystem partners, co-op member surveys, co-op leader surveys, overlaying that with secondary data from Scope Insight and from USAID performance indicators, and all of that brought in from data from the midterm evaluation to be able to systematize the project performance by country and key theme. So what you see on the screen here is a manufactured index built off of this coded and systematized data across 4 interconnected themes that the evaluation team found that they emerged from the primary data collection. And those 4 themes were governance, business performance, cooperative business environment, and sustainability. You'll see them listed on the bottom of the screen, the horizontal axis. On the vertical on the left, you'll see the 5 countries. So running this index for each country resulted in scores for each theme for each country and offered a comprehensive picture of the CECE project's achievements. I will make a quick note that for Guatemala, the 5th country on the screen here, there were foreign policy changes that really impacted programmatic and budgetary decisions between for CECE, which was due to foreign policy between US and Guatemala. And as a result, interventions with co-ops were significantly delayed due to some of these changes. And so what you'll see is the values in the index for Guatemala reflect that limited and reduced ability to deliver the expected outcomes. That said, this index gives you scores in areas where the project performed well and those areas that required further attention. And this comparison across countries facilitates the identification of countries that achieve the best results within each theme. So that's one. Let's move to the next one, please. Governance, a key focus for this project. Good governance comes from having volunteer, member-elected directors who govern that, and they need to bring an understanding and ability to respond to members' needs. They need to implement good business practices, and they need to provide leadership and direction to the co-op's management or manager. We were able to collect data from members, leaders, the ecosystem to really unpack the CECE's project role with co-op governance. If you can advance the animation, please. Yep, just keep going. One more, and then one more. And the key finding from this analysis is that data really needs to drive decision-making. And some of the tools that Camila already represented in terms of the DMOC, having that ability to bring together information to establish baselines, to review performance and inform learning is really going to be critical for cooperatives and their partners to be able to sustainably grow. Next slide, please. Finally, let's see, and you can advance, thank you. There were 3 major insights for co-op capitalization that we want to list here. The first is that NCBA CLUSA discovered early on in the project that individual member equity ignored the importance of shared capital. And that by adding this additional indicator, which was introduced in 2020, this then provided insight into members' appetite to reinvest surpluses in their cooperative. And the result of now 2 member equity indicators is that you have a much more complete view of co-op members' willingness to invest in the ownership of the co-op and the services it provides to them, leading to a more robust organization level assessment of co-op business performance and a measure of sustainability. Moving to the center, you'll see Tanzania. We are going to hear much more about Tanzania's leadership with co-op capitalization across their countries, across their co-ops. There was led by local partner Rural Urban Development Initiatives, RUDI. The activities in Tanzania focused on coaching and training co-op leaders across all of the 28 co-ops and resulted in very sound business practices and a discipline for business plan development. Finally, the last finding is that truly member equity programs respond to members' demand to reinvest in their cooperative and to that headline that members will invest in this. So please do not shy away from offering and encouraging member equity programs in your co-ops. All righty, we are going to now move into our panel discussion. Very exciting. So here's where you're going to hear from all of these amazing leaders who activated and influenced and collaborated with co-ops in their countries and across the world. I'm going to introduce in order of speaker participation. We'll start with Lydia Omamo, the CECE Director for Kenya. Then we'll hear from Juan Carlos Marenco, the CECE Director for Guatemala, followed by Carmen Rosa Chavez, the CECE Director for Peru, Alan Nakanda, RUDI, implementing partner who served as the CECE Director for Tanzania, and Abel Rakoto Nireni, the CECE Director for Madagascar. Each of these esteemed colleagues are going to have 3 minutes, barely enough time to get started, but to respond to a couple of questions that we had put forward, and then we will have time for Q&A. So if you do have questions that come up as you listen and learn, please be sure to put them in the Q&A part of the Zoom. So starting with you, Lydia, please. We'll jump to the question of what were the main challenges to achieve participatory and inclusive governance? And how did CECE facilitate member participation and inclusion of women, youth, people with disabilities, Native or indigenous communities in your country, in Kenya? So Lydia, please, we'll start with you. Lydia, I am not hearing you.
Sorry. Good evening and good morning, everyone. The main challenges that we faced in Kenya including the youth and women in cooperative. First of all, it is the cultural beliefs in our country, because in most communities, women and youth do not own property, especially the factors of production, that is land and maybe bigger animals like cows and camels. So when we have agricultural production, we do not have the land or the animals so that we can deliver the products to the cooperatives. And then the historical backgrounds, the first and the foremost historical background, the first cooperatives formed in this country were agricultural based, especially the coffee and dairy, and those are believed to be men enterprise. So because they involve land and women don't own land, that leads to inequality in distribution of wealth, and then it leads to financial constraints because women and youth cannot access funds or loans from financial institutions to improve their businesses in cooperatives. Next, please. And then on the activities that CECE or CDP did, the first and the foremost was to look at the bylaws of each of the primary cooperatives that we were supporting, so that we can, the clauses including youth and women, both in participation and leadership, was looked at and reviewed. And then from there, even when we do the community awareness, they come into the cooperatives that already have the laws that are inclusive. Then the intentional recruitment drives using the few leaders, women, the women leaders who are in cooperatives,
Lydia,
and the men who are,
30 seconds.
Yes.
30 seconds, Lydia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then introduction to women and youth friendly services. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Lydia, thank you. We didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Thank you. It's
awesome.
okay.
All right. Well, Juan Carlos, take it away now, please.
Muy bien. Hola a todos y todas. Un gusto saludarles. Para el caso de Guatemala, me atrevo a categorizar los principales retos en 3 ámbitos: de contexto sectorial y económico, que mantienen al sector cooperativo en una amplia desigualdad comparada con el sector mercantil, con obstáculos en lo legislativo, participación económica, espacios de representación, entre otros, además de la coyuntura económica en tiempos de pandemia, que incidió en la participación de los miembros con sus cooperativas, la realización de asambleas, entre otros. El segundo son derivados de factores culturales y educativos, y es que acá en Guatemala subyace una cultura excluyente y machista y una población con bajos niveles educativos, que es un reto para la gobernanza cooperativa, pues aunque no existen limitaciones a la participación de mujeres y jóvenes en términos de igualdad, sí persisten obstáculos en términos de equidad para lograr transitar a esa deseable gobernanza participativa e inclusiva. Y el tercero, los retos institucionales de asignación presupuestaria al Instituto Nacional de Cooperativas y a la Inspección General de Cooperativas, que apoyan extraordinariamente el desarrollo del sector, pero su bajo presupuesto limita su alcance, la calidad y la amplitud de los servicios a las cooperativas del país. Siguiente slide, por favor. Next, please. Gracias. Las actividades que desarrollamos en Guatemala mantuvieron un enfoque sistémico para el alcance de los objetivos del programa. Realizamos talleres con asociados y órganos de cooperativas en participación, gobernanza, rendición de cuentas, construcción de manuales y procedimientos, entre otros. También apoyamos la formulación participativa de agendas estratégicas y planes de recuperación económica, especialmente importantes en este contexto pospandemia. Trabajamos también de forma coordinada con INACOP e INGECOP, apoyando actividades y desarrollando herramientas que sin duda apoyarán el desarrollo de sistemas institucionales de gestión por resultados. Apoyamos también la formación de redes de cooperativas. Fueron dos, una en San Marcos con 42 cooperativas y otra en Petén con 14 cooperativas, que no solo impulsaron los procesos de capacitación en gobernanza, pero también impulsaron mecanismos de incidencia con las autoridades locales para la gestión de recursos y atención a necesidades comunes. Realizamos también talleres dirigidos...
Juan Carlos, 30 segundos.
Ya estoy terminando. Realizamos talleres dirigidos a mujeres para la promoción del ejercicio de sus derechos humanos y dignificación laboral, empoderamiento económico y liderazgo cooperativo. Y con esto termino, apalancamos el concepto indígena del Utzcaslemal, que significa buen vivir, y comparte relación directa con los valores y principios del cooperativismo para todas nuestras intervenciones con los pueblos originarios. Muchas gracias.
All right.
Entre
Wonderful.
entre las principales limitaciones que tuvimos en Perú para la ejecución de proyectos fue la presencia de la pandemia COVID-19, esta reactivación económica que está muy lenta post pandemia, la presencia de problemas sociopolíticos que aún están vigentes, la crisis climática, el marco legal y regulatorio de las cooperativas, tanto para la institucionalidad como para la gobernanza. Por ejemplo, no pudieron las cooperativas realizar sesiones presenciales para poder garantizar la dirección, la administración y control de sus cooperativas. Y las barreras que existen para el acceso de mujeres y jóvenes y ser miembros de las cooperativas. La siguiente, por favor. Entre las principales actividades que realizó el proyecto, la siguiente, están enmarcadas, se centraron en personas y en las organizaciones que se atendieron por demanda. Fortalecimiento de capacidades en el modelo cooperativa a funcionarios públicos, a líderes, a socios de cooperativas, a mujeres, a jóvenes, a comunidades de la etnia Wajún, a personas que han perdido su libertad. También se contribuyó en la redacción de un marco legal para que las cooperativas puedan sesionar de manera virtual, haciendo uso de herramientas tecnológicas que les permitió asegurar participación, comunicación, el derecho de voto y que los acuerdos de asamblea sean auténticos. Y para ello, en el contexto de COVID, y tener un buen gobierno. Y finalmente manifestarle que Perú, como manifestó Camila, fue la sede de implementar la Escuela de Negocios Cooperativas. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Carmen Rosa. All right,
Okay,
Alan.
Good morning, good evening, everybody. Inclusive governance was one of the key issues that was given a priority when implementing CECE project in Tanzania. The challenge being lack of confidence among women and youth members in cooperatives to vie for cooperative leadership positions, And this was solved by first initiating confidence building measures through identifying potential women leaders and helping them gain visibility and experience within the cooperatives. Next, please. Within the cooperative through training, coaching, and mentoring. And this has proven to be an effective strategy. And the secondly was encouraging and supporting women members to stand for election in various committees, representative bodies, and the higher level cooperative structures, and they participate actively in the meetings. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, about the challenges that we face here in Madagascar about the participation and inclusion of within COPs on governance. As you have seen on the video, it is really based on social organization here in Madagascar and on history, as our society is really man-driven. And as such, men are controlling the assets of the households, and the women do not have access to finance and funding. And in addition, we would notice in the countryside that the members are lacking a good level of education. And also, despite the actual dissemination of tools for to access information like radio and phones, there are still some difficulties to access information in the rural areas. Next slide, please. And so to balance that situation here in Madagascar, we worked on to promote the equality among members first, and then really to promote the recruitment of women and youth within the COPs, as you have noticed on the video. And for that also, we facilitated the participation of women and youth in the boards of directors. And we supported the COPs really to stress that in their bylaws and on their internal rules. So that would be enforced, and the women would really look at the enforcement of those bylaws. And as well, we assisted the COPs to create a women committee within their groups. We thought that we would start with at the union level, but that has straight away carried on as well by the cooperatives at the village level. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Carmen Rosa. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Juan Carlos. And thank you, Lydia. We're now going to move on to our second question here, which you see on the screen. We'd like to hear, starting with Alan, and then we'll move to Lydia. Why is it important for co-ops to improve their co-op capitalization, both from that individual and collective perspective? And how did CECE advance co-op capitalization in your country? Alan, please.
Okay. It is important because of the following reasons. One, it increases loyalty and participation. It provides needed capital for the business and to make it more efficient. It reduces the cost of borrowing, raw interest rates. It fulfills the members' obligation to finance their cooperative principle number 3. Next, please. Okay. What was done is how did we advance the co-op capitalization? First was we sensitized and we did sensitization and training of members and leaders on the capitalization. especially on members' equity. And secondly, we opened up a special bank accounts that were to be, the money that was collected from the members was to be deposited. And thirdly, we facilitated the elaboration and approval of COP and COP capitalization policies, including lane fencing to protect the money from theft and the loss of value. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. Lydia, please, same question for you.
Thank you so much. The importance of capitalization. This can be used for cooperative investments, operations, and service provision. It can also be used by members who withdraw in accordance with the bylaws of the cooperative to satisfy their individual and family needs. It incentivizes the proper record keeping, and it's a financial sustainability and security for future cooperative members. Next slide, please. What the activities that were done to advance this? We created awareness through the cooperative support organizations, that is Cooperative Alliance of Kenya, which is the apex organization for cooperatives, CUSCO, which is the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, that's an umbrella body for the savings cooperatives, and the professional body for Kenya Society for Professional Cooperators. And then sensitization of cooperative capitalization to county stakeholders and training of cooperative leaders and officers on cooperative capitalization. And then finally reviewing the bylaws of primary cooperatives to incorporate cooperative capitalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Please, Carmen Rosa, same question for you.
Considero importante en el tema de capitalización el sentido de pertenencia que deben tener los socios respecto a que son dueños de esa empresa cooperativa. Ese sentido de pertenencia les va a dar identidad, poder tener una mejor participación, comprometerse con sus cooperativas, brindar los aportes de manera oportuna para que puedan incrementar ese patrimonio, poder disminuir riesgos y poder tener también acceso a financiamiento externo. Importante es la eficiencia del uso de esos recursos para poder brindar servicios a los socios y satisfacer necesidades. Y fomentar, considero de gran relevancia, la transparencia y la rendición de cuentas para generar confianza en los socios cooperativas. ¿Qué actividades realizó? La siguiente, por favor, CECE. En primer lugar, se brindó coaching o asesoramiento a los líderes y gerentes de las cooperativas en la elaboración e implementación de instrumentos de gestión, principalmente en planificación financiera, asistencia técnica en aspectos legales, contables, tributarios, de gobernanza. En algunos casos facilitó a cooperativas ya establecidas la supervisión de planes de capitalización, y un aspecto relevante fue el soporte técnico que brindó CDP en la elaboración de expedientes o solicitudes para que las cooperativas puedan acceder a fondos públicos y también aprovechar sus propios recursos. Gracias.
Gracias, Carmen Rosa. Abel, please, from Madagascar.
Yes, capitalization is a very important part of cooperatives, and the thing is, up to recently, cooperatives were relying on external financing from government, subsidized from government or from private sector. So there was a lack of ownership from the members, and that's the importance that bringing in the capitalization is advancing the members' ownership, and also that is also balancing the power within the co-ops, and that's really one of the responding to the principle of cooperatives. And as such, the cooperatives are able to expand and diversify their activities with more investment, and they also have they are independent also from external financing, and they rely less to lending and loan from a bank, and they can expand their activities. And how did that, how did they do to really advance on that capitalization? That was through technical assistance on governance and how the co-op would use their capital. We were working with workers' co-op to coach the cooperatives, so to bring them on the application of their bylaws, and really for members to contribute financially to their cooperatives, and so they could have financial ability to diversify, to expand their activities, and also even to support one another within the cooperative. That was a key really to the capitalization for cooperatives here in Madagascar. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. And Juan Carlos, help us conclude this question and conversation with Guatemala, please.
Siendo el último, quiero ir rápido sobre esta primera parte, en donde nosotros consideramos pues, que la capitalización cooperativa construye resiliencia económica ante factores de crisis, algo que observamos durante la crisis de la roya del café, eventos climáticos y más recientemente durante la pandemia. También fortalece el posicionamiento económico de las cooperativas para la gestión de créditos con entidades bancarias, así como la ampliación de la membresía y provisión de servicios a sus asociados. Facilita la expansión o desarrollo de nuevos negocios vía la implementación de procesos de transformación, mercadeo y desarrollo de alianzas comerciales. Y también se convierte en un medio de inclusión financiera, brindando la oportunidad de ahorro y financiamiento a procesos productivos de la membresía. Ahora bien, referente a las actividades para avanzar en la capitalización cooperativa, como bien lo mencionó Catherine, para el caso de Guatemala tuvimos que integrar ajustes estratégicos y presupuestarios en Guatemala, por lo que priorizamos el tema de articulación de remesas para procesos productivos. No solo porque el tema de migración es el objetivo prioritario de la estrategia de país de USAID en Guatemala, sino también por el potencial que representa para el desarrollo económico local, ya que el ingreso de remesas en Guatemala es enorme, se proyecta para unos 20,000 millones de dólares este año y equivale al 19 a 20% del Producto Interno Bruto, que son el doble de las exportaciones agrícolas del país. Entonces, las actividades que desarrollamos se refirieron mucho a cooperativas migrantes y la articulación de remesas, y se incluyó la formación de una cooperativa migrante con una membresía interesante, membresía de migrantes, retornados, familiares de migrantes y público en general. Y revisamos también procesos de fortalecimiento de otras 4 cooperativas migrantes en su gestión interna. Desarrollamos alianzas con Flaxo, que son expertos en migración y desarrollo, es la Facultad Latinoamericana de Ciencias Sociales, expertos en migración y desarrollo en el país, y también con la plataforma de guatemaltecos en Estados Unidos, que lo conforman unas 9 redes de migrantes en diferentes estados. Y también trabajamos con una ONG en Guatemala, que es el brazo operativo de la plataforma, que se llama Misión Guatemala USAID, para diseñar estrategias que articulen y promuevan el uso de remesas con fines productivos y no tanto a gasto, ¿verdad? También apoyamos la conceptualización de instrumentos financieros de captación y colocación de remesas con las cooperativas migrantes, los cuales inclusive fueron presentados a la Vicepresidencia de la República y al Gabinete Económico, y también promovimos con entidades de gobierno y autoridades locales el tema de las cooperativas migrantes, ya que reconocemos su rol de intermediación y la regencia de ellos pues, sobre estos procesos económicos. Por ahí termino yo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Fantastic. I saw in the chat that thank you everyone for keeping in time. That was a lot of information that we heard from our 5 country leaders. And there's plenty more to share, but we do want to be respectful and also have time, which we do right now, to interact with everyone in the webinar. In the Q&A, there are a number of questions. There are a few that are country specific. And so I am going to, Juan Carlos, there are a couple that are for Guatemala. So I'm going to ask you, let's see, in terms of the, for Huehuetenango, and then Juan Carlos, can you see the question from Esteban Lara and Natalino Barnett? Those are two that look to be specific to Guatemala in terms of looking at the region.
I have to look for them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me ask you then, or I will narrate. In terms of Guatemala, how were you able to work with women today, women throughout the project, and what have been your primary results for implementation? Oops. Sorry.
Bueno, trabajamos en diferentes niveles con las mujeres. Trabajamos en la formación de una cooperativa exclusivamente de mujeres, 960 mujeres indígenas en la cuenca del lago Atitlán, donde confluyen un montón de retos, ¿no? Se hablan 3 idiomas mayas, sutujil, quiché y cachiquel. La gente, las personas, pues las mujeres, sufren de una triple discriminación, no solo por su condición de mujeres, como también por su condición de indígenas y por su condición, por los retos que tienen también del trabajo que realizan en la colección de material, de desechos sólidos reciclables, que culturalmente se consideran como recoge basuras. Entonces trabajamos con ellas fuertemente en su organización cooperativa, pero también en su empoderamiento, en la dignificación de su trabajo, su empoderamiento económico y el fortalecimiento de sus agendas estratégicas, pues para trazar una visión de desarrollo a largo plazo, y articulamos algunas alianzas comerciales que les facilitaron integrarse en la cadena de valor del reciclaje. También estuvimos trabajando con mujeres en la escuela de empresas cooperativas, aterrizando las herramientas que ya se mencionaron de WILCOP, que promueven la inclusión de mujeres, y esperamos pues continuar trabajando el tema en la siguiente fase de CDP, porque los retos siguen siendo enormes, pero sí lo trabajamos en multinivel, Esteban.
Thank you so much. The other question for Guatemala was ¿cómo ve el apoyo a futuro a los 10 pueblos originarios en Huehuetenango, teniendo como base los trabajos que ha impulsado NCBA CLUSA en Guatemala?
Vamos a estar ahí, por supuesto, para la siguiente fase de CDP, y hemos generado ya mayores conocimientos. Encontramos esa coincidencia espectacular desde la concepción de Lutzkas Lemal, que coincide con nuestros principios y valores cooperativos, y creemos que vamos a encontrar un terreno muy fértil. Reconocemos que se tienen otros retos, otro nivel de retos de desarrollo que pasan por la exclusión y por las necesidades económicas que se tienen, y vamos a estar articulando pues estos programas de gobierno, como lo hicimos en esta fase, donde liberamos un poquito y logramos que el gobierno cambiara en la legislación el acceso a las cooperativas. Ojalá sea con una nueva ley que quedó en la segunda lectura, desgraciadamente, pero seguramente se retoma el tema con el nuevo gobierno que va a entrar a partir del año que viene.
Thank you so much. Camila, I'm seeing your chat. I do have Lydia, I'm going to move to Kenya to, let's see. There's a question that's in Spanish. So Camila, can you help me with articulating that, please?
Yeah, no, I just think there is a strong participation from Guatemala, and wanted to make sure the other countries get to respond questions. There is a general question for all countries that says from Barbara: could the speaker expand on what strategies prove most effective on working on challenges posed by cultural belief and traditions, and second, to what extent experiences from one country could help be helpful for the other. No, how this one of the beautiful things about this project is that there was a lot of cross-pollination from one country to another. So yeah, how did you learn from each other? We all learn from each other. Thanks. So Lydia, and then others.
Okay, thank you so much, Camila, for expanding on that. The strategies that proved most effective on working on that challenge, that is on cultural beliefs and tradition. In Kenya, whatever proved so effective to us was using the women, the few women who are in leadership, and the few men who embrace women inclusive in cooperatives and in groups. We used them as champions to speak to the rest of the groups and the communities, to tell them the importance of women being in cooperatives, participating in leadership. And at that level, when the champions who are already in the cooperatives are talking like that, the first men who are in the cooperatives gave their wives an opportunity to be supplying the meal, the evening milk on their names, and the morning milk on the women, on the men, so that because it is the woman who works on the farm, takes care of the animals, the woman really worked hard to make sure that the evening milk is more. And on working that, even the man's milk was more. So this served as an example to break that barrier that a woman cannot be in cooperatives and a woman cannot lead. And in cooperatives where women were leading, they made an exemplary example to make those cooperatives really perform well in terms of governance, in terms of production, and in terms of revenues. That is what in Kenya proved to be effective. That is using the champions, and the champions serving as an example, and increase in revenues for the cooperatives that are women-led. That is what we did in Kenya.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Carmen Rosa, could we hear from you similar reflections on, in Peru, the strategies that were most effective working through challenges posed by cultural beliefs and traditions, and how you learned from your peers from the other CECE country leaders?
Principalmente es el tema de la gestión del conocimiento, el rescate de saberes en las comunidades, en las cooperativas donde están asentadas. Creo que eso fue una de las experiencias en las cuales, como mencionó Juan Carlos y también nuestra amiga Lidia, respecto al tema cultural. El otro aspecto importante es de que a través del Estado se han generado una serie de iniciativas de confinanciamiento en donde estos fondos que son concursables o de acceso a financiamiento hay específicamente para mujeres, hay todo un tema cultural, hay una apuesta por el liderazgo de mujeres, y lo que en estos momentos se vienen dando son normas para que puedan los jóvenes tener acceso a estos emprendimientos. Alrededor de las cadenas de valor en las que están interactuando las cooperativas, justamente se viene buscando el tema del relevo generacional, que es uno de los programas que Perú viene implementando de manera tal que con los institutos, la academia, las escuelas, se viene dando y enseñando a niños, adolescentes, sobre el modelo cooperativa, de manera tal que ya vaya generándose una identidad sobre este modelo cooperativo, que es una filosofía basado en una economía solidaria, basada en principios, en valores, que es lo que marca la diferencia con otro modelo de cooperativa. Finalmente, decirles de que el intercambio de aprendizaje que se ha dado en un contexto de pandemia es el uso de herramientas digitales que ha permitido justamente poder realizar este intercambio de conocimientos a nivel de los 5 países que se ha ejecutado el proyecto, pero también hacia adentro, rescatando, ¿cómo se llama? Rescatando esa idiosincrasia, esa cultura, pero poniendo en valor, por ejemplo, las comunidades nativas, en el caso ¿cómo se llama?, de la etnia Wajún, con las cuales se ha trabajado todo un programa de capacitación específicamente vinculados a un programa sostenible, sustentable en café. Entonces, creo que el tema parte de complementar conocimientos, rescatando saberes y insertando ese relevo generacional que debe en este momento darse a los jóvenes sobre el modelo cooperativa y captar las oportunidades que el Estado, que la cooperación y otros ponen a disposición para que puedan a partir de ahí generar y emprender negocios que de una u otra manera les permite diversificar su cartera.
Gracias, Carmen Rosa. Alan, please, may we ask the same for you to reflect on Tanzania related to challenges that you and the co-ops were able to overcome related to cultural beliefs? And then let's segue, and we'll stay with you, Alan, to talk a little bit more about co-op capitalization. There have been a fair number of questions in the Q&A chat, and so I'll keep the spotlight on you after we first hear from you about strategies that were effective in terms of overcoming cultural beliefs challenges. Please, Alan.
Of course, as Lydia, my colleague Lydia said, even in Tanzania, we use the champions. We use the COP champions, the leaders who are in the communities, and those members who were members in the cooperatives, those who agree who understands the importance of women and the youth inclusion, were sensitized and then were requested to act as champions in making sure that other people in the community also get sensitized and join the cooperatives. In regards to the cooperative capitalization, I think most of the questions I have responded most of the questions in the chat. But to start with the last question that I'm trying to is asked by Claudia.
Yes,
said that,
wonderful.
Yes. During this program, with the cooperative being stronger, how have you seen an increase in financial lenders available? Yes, this is most of the lenders, especially in Tanzania, like the commercial banks, we are much interested in lending money to the cooperatives just because they know that they were recorded properly, their finances, the audits were done in a timely manner. So the fear of losing their money was not there. So the level of comfort to lend money to smallholder farmers increased.
Alan, thank you so much. To everyone, please do navigate to the Q&A, and you'll see in there that there are some tabs that at the top open, and then you'll also see a second column that says answered, and Alan referenced he's been actively responding to questions on specifically to co-op capitalization. So please do look there, and it looks like Lydia and other leaders are starting to add in. So we are live responding, but also as we've all become experts in chatting and texting virtually, there's that interaction as well. Abel, may we hear from you about your experience with essentially bringing co-ops in Mozambique to become represented more. I don't want to say formally, but seen as more within the standard or normal business landscape. What have been, I'm sorry, my video's off. What have been some ways that CECE in Mozambique achieved some of this improvement in how co-ops are considered as businesses?
All right, Catherine, let me answer from Madagascar about that. Yes, co-op as a business, that's a good question, because really the start for co-ops here in Madagascar was kind of based on the social organization, and people always see co-ops like a way to access subsidized from the government, and that was the vision as a business was really lacking. So we really had to address that view of the co-ops to be really shift the mind from the social organization to be the business model, really to promote cooperative as a business model to develop and really to help smallholders to access the market, and also to have access to better seeds, but better inputs, you know. So yes, and one big achievement as well for CECE here in Madagascar was really that we were able to pass the new law for co-ops, really that co-ops should be viewed as a business, but not anymore as a social organization, but really as a business organization. And that is really a key achievement that is really promoting the cooperative as a business here in Madagascar. And also our partner in co-ops were really conveying that message among the communities that co-op model is really a business model, really to thrive as an economic player in their village and in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abel. We are active here in our Q&A. However, I know that there's a little bit more that we want to share. And so unless I hear from anyone, and please unmute or post something, I think let's move, Camila, to you to understand how you've been able to distill these amazing experiences and learnings and bring them to global learnings and papers, and what is, you know, how can we leverage all of this going forward?
Thank you all. I know there were, as Catherine was saying, more questions, and I think Lydia, Alan, everyone, you can continue to answer some questions maybe in the chat. Some of you who have participated, and many of you are our partners in these countries where we work. We are really appreciate having and continue to work with you, and so happy to continue communicating. I'm going to share now some of the global learnings on these two topics that were addressed. And next, please. We have developed two papers, and I'm one on governance and the other one on cooperative capitalization. And I'm gonna share here the main learnings and recommendations, and then we will close the webinar. We will continue working together, discussing and learning, collaborating. So this is not the end. It's just a way for us to share some of our learning, some of these tools we think. I'm not closing now, but I just want to not forget to thank so much to Catherine and the Just Result team also for doing a very useful evaluation, midterm and final evaluation, and we have learned a lot also from them and their recommendation. So in terms of the learnings for around inclusive and participatory governance, as you know, those who understand cooperative governance is the core of cooperative organizations, no? And the challenges are given the fact that they have this dual character, as Abel was saying. There are always tensions in that they want to be seen as just like social philanthropic organizations or just business, and they are a business run by people, right? And so governance is very complex in cooperatives, and even more if we are expecting this governance to be inclusive, no, as they should reflect the communities where they're based, and be participatory, no? It's not just participating in the annual or general assembly, no? And so we learned that, as we all know, and especially for agriculture or farmer cooperatives, there are challenges. There is still a lot to do in terms of including women and youth. We know this is not a problem only in these countries. It's not a problem only for cooperatives. It's a problem with like the aging of people doing work in the rural areas, in the field, and the fact that women don't. There are many factors why women are not participating or included in these cooperatives. And there are what we found. I think there was one question, is that in fact there are many barriers that come out of the cooperative laws, no, legislation, but also internal norms. So the bylaws, the statutes, and that's one of the things that our teams did that had a great lasting impact. There are different things that we can share, but there is a lot of work to do in terms of cooperative legislation and internal norms, so that women and youth can actually be able to join cooperatives, no? And this also, there is the problem of access to finance, or having the assets and the money needed to pay for membership quotas. And we have great experiences, especially in Kenya, that can be shared and are sharing these papers. The other learning is that at the beginning, we focus on leaders and managers of the cooperatives. And after the midterm evaluation, we realized we needed to do much more with the members. We know that's very costly, and that's one of the advantages of having the online cooperative business school. We know it doesn't reach everyone, but what we learn is cooperative education is the stepping stone, no? And also the importance of effective support ecosystem and public policies, because we cannot charge cooperatives with a societal problem. We know that discrimination or lack of inclusion of women and youth is not a problem of cooperatives only. It's a problem of society. It needs societal solutions, right? But cooperatives can do better, and we know, and with some awareness, training, sensitization, and identifying those barriers, a lot can be done, as has been shown. Next, please. And so in terms of recommendations, for cooperatives, very quickly, we need to seek the right leadership and management. No, this is true for both making sure our processes are participatory and inclusive. We know how important it is to have the right manager that are committed, that understand cooperatives, and that have participatory style leaderships. No, as mentioned, the bylaws I just explained. There is a lot that can be done there, seeing what are the barriers for women and youth inclusion. And something we learn is that these trainings that we do for members, no, is male, female, women, and men, they have to translate into concrete actions. And one of those actions is that cooperatives are not attracted to women and youth because the services they provide, the activities that they do are not attractive to them in some cases, no? There are cases in which they're already doing the work and they're not allowed to join, but in some cases, women and youth are not interested because of what the cooperatives are doing. And by diversifying those activities and services, there is a great opportunity to attract youth and women. Then for cooperative apex organizations, they can play a key role in making sure that cooperatives have access to cooperative education for all members, no? We know it's a societal problem. We need public programs, as mentioned below, but cooperative apex can do a lot, and that's one of the main functions generally. As well as leading the establishment of women and youth committees. No, the video showed a higher tier, second tier cooperative in Madagascar and all the great work they did helping the member cooperatives increase participation of women. For public policy makers, as I just mentioned, we need, as has been achieved in a few countries, secondary higher level education to have programs on cooperative education. You need to start training. We have a beautiful experience in Peru called Releva Cooperative, working along this, but a lot more needs to be done. And also, as mentioned, the legislation, no? Cooperative law creates some barriers in some cases, especially for a farmer or ag cooperatives. For cooperative development organization like us, I just want to say that, yeah, the step from training to concrete actions is key. And also the focus on the local ecosystem, no? To make sure that the services that cooperatives need to be able to provide education, to be able to communication campaigns for women and all this, that needs to be done by local cooperative support organizations so that all this work is sustainable, no? Next, please. In terms, this is a very complex topic, cooperative capitalization, and like just the wording, I know can be very confusing. But this was the main focus of the program, and we did continue to focus on it. But one of the first learning, as Catherine mentioned, was that we could not work just promoting a very narrow understanding of member equity, or we needed to expand or broaden that concept to include all the different ways in which members can contribute to their cooperative. So not just the individual capital accounts where they contribute, in addition to the mandatory membership share or initial share, we needed to include the other ways, as you can see there, that are both share or collective contributions and mandatory and voluntary, no? Because it depends on the country, as you can see below in that table from 2022. Depends on the legislation, depends on the stage of the cooperatives, but they tend to contribute a lot to the collective or share. They're called cooperative reserves, because that is precisely what shows their commitment to their organization and to the future generations of members that are going to continue leading forward their cooperatives. And so that
30 seconds.
Yeah, so that's the main learning. I wanted to stop there because it's important. And then because of all this external context, there is not a good way of doing it or an optimal level. Like the maximum is not the best. It depends on their concrete conditions in terms of the bank rates, inflation, etc. How much we want to promote individual member accounts, no? And so yeah, but of course, as in the next slide, and that's my last slide. these are some recommendations that you can see later for the process of member equity or cooperative capitalization. I'll leave that for others, for people to see later. Next, please. So these are the main messages that we wanted to send, which are cooperative capitalization kind of like happens pretty much naturally once you have a strong cooperative, because that means members are committed and have a plan for the future, right? And so in the next CDP project, which we are calling Cooperative Ecosystem and Social Inclusion, we are focusing on the roots and the branch that is going to lead. We're going to continue supporting cooperatives to make sure they are accounting, they have the proper accounting, there is supervision, there is understanding on the importance of members contributing to the cooperative, but we are also going to focus on all the cooperative education that is needed also for social inclusion to re-energize this cooperative, and on the ecosystem, because as mentioned, these challenges are societal and we need to make sure that the ecosystem are strong so that all this work can continue. And I'll stop there. Thank you. And I think you are closing,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Wow. Everyone. There was so much that was offered and shared. You can see the engagement in the webinar chat, the Q&A, active question answering, responding. Thinking about how to close out this brief yet very rich webinar, there was so much sharing that occurred across countries, across themes. We heard about tools that have been standardized and have been made available to the global cooperative development community. The links for several of those are in the webinar chat. You'll see them. Camilla posted them at about the top of the hour, whatever hour it be for you right now. So about 30 minutes ago. Please do look at that. The materials that we've shared in this webinar, the slides, the recording, those will be coming to you as well. Be sure that you look at all of the attendees, connect. That's been part of this, the accomplishment of this program. And this community is creating that enabling creating an enabling environment for co-op expansion really does require people to cooperate and collaborate. And as you think about the rest of your day, the rest of your week, let us close now again by gazing at the top of the slide on your screen right now. And you see in the blue header at the top, you'll see on the left NCBA CLUSA. And then moving your eyes to the right side, now you'll see the words building an inclusive economy together. And again, those familiar pine trees with the idea of the pine tree being that symbol of life and that an omen of good fortune. You are now part of that opportunity to build that inclusive economy through cooperatives, through partnership, through seeking ways to really include and expand opportunities for everyone through cooperation. So everyone, thank you so much. We are delighted to have been able to share this time with you, and we will look forward to continuing to learn and grow together in the future. Thank you.